Staying on with the continuous coverage of the Israel-Hamas war. In the latest, the Israeli military has said that 200 of its soldiers have been killed in Gaza since its ground operations began in late October. And this comes on a day when close to 200 Palestinians were killed in the last 24 hours alone. And the death toll in Gaza crossed the 25,000 mark. And this is according to the Palestinian Health Ministry. The numbers are mounting, and so is the pressure on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Relatives of Israelis held hostage in Gaza interrupted a parliamentary meeting, demanding the government to take urgent action for their release. The group broke into a meeting of the Knesset's Finance Committee, chanting, and I'm quoting here, "Everybody and now," to urge the return of all hostages.
What happened today at the Knesset was an expression of immense sorrow and pain that cannot longer be contained, and we're no longer asking for pity, we're asking for action.
Family members and supporters also demonstrated near Netanyahu's residence in Jerusalem. They spilled blood-red liquid on a road and banged their drums. This comes even as European foreign ministers pressed Israel on a two-state solution. At a meeting in Brussels, they criticized Netanyahu's clear rejection of the creation of a Palestinian state. Meanwhile, Britain and the United States have unveiled new asset freezes and travel bans on Hamas. The United States also announced sanctions on Iraqi airline Fly Baghdad, saying it provided assistance to Iran's military wing. Washington says the move is a response to Iran-backed militias' regular strikes against bases housing U.S. forces in Iraq and Syria. Staying on with the story. Now, the Israeli Prime Minister rejected Hamas's condition for hostage deal. But diplomats are now pushing to resurrect the idea of a two-state solution. Josep Borrell, European Union's foreign policy chief, is now determined to pursue a two-state solution in West Asia. While speaking at the monthly gathering of EU foreign ministers in Brussels, Borrell said that Israel cannot build peace and can only build military means, and emphasized on the harrowing humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Take a listen.
Certainly, the way of trying to destroy Hamas is not the way they are doing, because they are seeding the hate for generations. We have in mind what Hamas is, what Hamas has done, and certainly we reject and we condemn. But the peace and stability cannot be built only by military means. And not in this particular way of using military means.
Now, the two-state solution has long been proposed as the best hope for peace in the Israel-Hamas war. And if mutually accepted, it would see an independent Palestinian state established alongside the existing one of Israel, giving both the countries their own territory. But as the Israel-Hamas war rages on, the two-state solution has become the most widely accepted policy internationally. This even as Israelis and Palestinians increasingly see it as an impossibility. But when we look back in history, it seems like Israeli occupation is the key issue that prevents Palestinians from forming their own state. In 1967, Israel took control of the Palestinian territories, which is Gaza, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem. Palestinians ever since have lived under military rule. So even if the two-state solution is put in force, the biggest obstacle would be in deciding what the borders of a potential Palestinian state would be. An increasing number of Israeli settlements have been established inside the West Bank. As per international law, these are still considered illegal. So even if the occupation were to end, there is little land on which Palestinians could build a state. Because an Israeli settlement movement in the Palestinian territories will involve over 700,000 people, meaning some would have to be resettled in the Israeli territory, which Israel is unlikely to tolerate. Now, Israel's assault on Gaza has left over 25,000 Palestinians dead, the vast majority women and children. According to the Hamas-run health ministry, that is, and Netanyahu has now vowed complete victory over Hamas after the October 7th attacks. But the question is, can Hamas be completely eliminated? While some military experts deny the possibility, others point out that Israel's campaign may degrade the group's capabilities, but defeating its ideology is impossible without a political solution.
الأخ القائد الوطني الكبير